You can tell her, you can tell her anything. She's a real good listener. You can tell her anything.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl, Teresa. This is You Can Tell Me Anything. This is the podcast where comedians confess something they want to get off their chest. I used to say that they never told anyone before, but then that's not usually true because we have big mouths. So I just say something that, you know, not a story you've told on TV, not a story a lot of people have heard, but it's okay if you've told your mom. But today we have a comedian I love so much. I'm so excited to have him on the show because he actually lives in New York City, but with the quarantine I've been able to get people from all over. He's so funny. He was recently featured in the New York Times for his videos. Chris Calogero, what's up?
Yay, hello, how are you?
I'm good. I mean, it's been a minute. I feel like we interact online, but it's been a minute since I've seen you, so it's so cool to see you on FaceTime.
I know, I haven't seen you in a while. I mean, we used to always be pounding around the old Pine Box Rock Shop.
I always remember, like, one New Year's Eve we went to watch the Hold Steady, and it was just, like, the most...
Oh, yes.
I think it was your idea, actually, but it's like a very dad rock is how I would describe it. But it was a lot of fun.
Extremely dad rock. Sorry about that.
No, don't say sorry. It was a lot of fun. It definitely was that was like an iconic comedy moment for me, I would say. Definitely a moment that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't doing stand-up comedy in New York.
Right, yeah. That was a fun one. And
yeah.
That was like the first New Year's I spent with my my girlfriend, who is now my wife.
Now your wife,
so
I know.
it's a special one too.
That's so exciting. And you guys do videos together. We were just talking about this offline, but you make really funny videos.
Yeah.
I guess now they're called front-facing videos. I don't know what the industry has deemed them, but you were doing these before the quarantine. I remember you were doing like montages of like every cop movie, or you know, like they're so clever and fun. And now you just did one with Emily, being quarantined with Jason Voorhees, which made me laugh.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, they're called front-facing videos now, and sometimes like a disparaging manner because like nothing gold can stay online, so everybody has to all of a sudden backlash for no reason against things. But yeah, they're fun to do, and like especially right now, they keep my brain like occupied. You know, like it's nice to have an idea and then just like a task to complete the idea like in front of me, rather than just kind of fall prey to just sitting around and feeling, you know, despair. So it's nice to have something to do.
That's good. Well, before we get too far, I like to start by asking for a good confession, just to start on a positive note. God knows we need it now. Chris, is there something good you want to confess to? Just like a quick humble brag, something like that.
I mean, you did it. I got featured in the New York Times a couple weeks ago, which actually feels like 3 years ago now. But it was like towards the beginning of the quarantine where somebody reached out and asked for my information and stuff and said I was going to be featured, which was very cool. And I saw it online, which was like awesome. And then on the Monday paper, the hard copy in the art section, like my picture was like on the cover of the art section on the top banner,
nice.
Which was like I was just very excited to share like newspaper space with the crossword puzzle. That was like a real
Did you buy
treat for me.
copies and frame them?
I have it. It's in like my box of my box of brag, basically, like stuff where I've been featured or
That's
stuff
awesome.
that people have sent me or things. So yeah, it was a fun one.
That's so cool. Yeah, the videos, I know you were doing them before, like, and you were saying just now how you just come up with them now and you can just do them. Like, how much, like, do you sit down and plan them ahead, or are you like, okay, I can just do this right now and like I have all day since we're home, let's just go make one right now. Like, how much writing are you doing in terms of like preparing, like, you know, I have a slate of videos I gotta do, or is it just kind of like whenever you want to do them?
Yeah, like it's kind of like a mix of everything. Like I keep a running list on like a Google Doc of ideas, and in my like my notes app on my phone. And then if one like really like if it's kind of like stews in my brain and like I feel like that will be good, and I will write like a few lines for it. And then I'll start filming it, with my phone, and then I'll allow myself to just riff a little and find some new things, and so it becomes like a mix of like having the idea, writing a few lines, and then allow myself to play within the confines of the lines that I've already created. And then editing out anything that I think is dumb or doesn't work. So it's a fun mix, especially that's kind of how I do my stand up too, which is it's very loose. But the thing about doing the videos is I can cut out anything that is too loose, and didn't work, rather than wait till the next time I get on stage to figure it out. So the editing has really become kind of fun to find new jokes and punchlines in there.
That's so cool. I know. I love that. I feel like I turned this into a professional interview, and that's not what I meant. But no, it is. It's fun because
No.
and I'm like, why do you do this?
You're super professional.
Well, it's interesting because I know a lot of people are getting into that now. And I'll say, I am the CEO of that company. I definitely was someone who didn't do a lot of videos in that sense before, but I have started playing around, because we do need our validation from somewhere. But I think it's really cool you were doing that before. I'm sure you've talked extensively about comedy stuff, so we won't spend too much time on that, but I'm curious about, in terms of, when you first started doing it, was it just, was it stuff that didn't make it to the stage, or were you this has to be here? What made you, because I know, you're established stand-up and you are great at stand-up, so what made you want to explore that medium in the beginning?
Explore making the videos?
Yeah, because this was before the quarantine.
Yeah.
And you were still doing stand-up.
Yeah, so I honestly have to give a ton of credit to this now defunct app that was called Laugh Exchange. I don't know if you remember when that was around. And they were they wanted to do short videos and 15 to 60 seconds, and you would submit them, and then they would pick 6, I think, and they would have whoever their users were vote on which ones were their favorites, and people would win money. And so I am notoriously bad at making stand-up tapes of myself, and B, didn't want to necessarily just chop up stand-up videos, and so I wanted to test my brain and see if I could come up with something different. So I was already trying to experiment with a little character work on stage, so I just started making different character videos instead of just submitting stand-up, and a couple of them hit and won me some money. And then the one I did that was all the police chiefs in an action movie montage that I put together hit on Twitter bigger than anything I'd ever put on Twitter ever. And I was oh, that was really fun. And so then I was just I inhale movies. When I was in high school, all I did was watch movies, so I had this knowledge base anyway. So I just started doing movie cliches and characters that I love, and people that I know are cliches, but I love anyway. The inspirational movie coach, or the jock from the 80s, the movie jock from the 80s and stuff. And I just it was fun. It's easy to do. It's not anything that is I feel is too difficult in taking away from anything else, basically, is what I mean. It's just fun. I'm at home, I'm doing it, I'm gonna make dinner, I can shoot video and people will enjoy it, and I've got fans off of it. So yeah, it just kind of started from there.
That's awesome. I mean, I like that, your humility when you say oh, it's not too hard, but so much of that is because you've ingested all this pop culture and you have a foundation of comedy that it is easier, but I do, it is because I don't want to downplay that, but I know what you mean. It's that sense, it feels it's accumulation of everything you have. But that's really cool. Yeah, because
it's a base, and I think...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, I think part of it is, Twitter can be so snarky, so I think sometimes I'm hesitant to be it's a cool thing. I'm oh, no, I know it's dumb.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it. I just, don't want to get caught up in, somebody's, snark timeline.
Sure.
Scares me.
Yeah, God forbid we actually try to do the thing we want to do, that's crazy.
I know.
No, I'm the same way. I'm here's the thing I want to do well, but I'm just gonna call it dumb, but that's okay. That's part of the personality. But so
better at it.
Well, that sort of leads me loosely into the next point. So this podcast is sort of based on going to therapy. I mean, because I found therapy later in my life, and it really helped me, and just the idea of talking things out. What's your experience with therapy?
So, it's interesting. I really believe in therapy, and I think it's very important, and I think it's not talked about. But I am not in therapy, and I only ever saw a therapist once, which was after my friend Amy passed away, we shared an apartment together, and I'm the one who found her apartment, and it was like, you know, a kind of life altering moment for me. I went to therapy. I went to a therapist once, and I found out how hard the process of finding a therapist can be, which I had not realized. It gave me like a newfound respect for that whole process. And B, I realized that like you have to find somebody who works for you. She didn't. I just did not feel a connection. I didn't feel like she was going to be able to serve whatever I was going through. And so I only went once, and it just was not, that particular person in that particular session just was not for me, basically.
It is really, really tough to find someone even when you're not in a crisis. It's even harder when you're in a crisis because it's like trying to find a hospital when your arm's already bleeding, and it's like, oh, this is a dentist, this is an eye doctor. You're like, I just need someone put my arm together. You're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It's fine. Yeah, I get that, and I
got caught up in like a phone tag with one
God.
therapist, and it was just like I was like in mourning and grieving and like having like sporadic panic attacks, and I was like, I can't play phone tag with someone. I can't do that.
Yeah, because any little thing could set you off. Like at that moment. I mean, and the listeners obviously don't know our relationship, but I know, you know, I know the story, and I'm sorry about that. I do remember, weirdly, like that happened, like I think like a week or so before I lost my brother. So weirdly, we were kind of on a similar grief timeline, but also weirdly, like so much in our own worlds. I feel like, but it was always sort of like a parallel thing. I remember feeling like, oh wow, we're kind of like, because every time you post an anniversary post is around the same time, so it is interesting.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it is really.
And that was also
tough.
actually like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was also like a week after the Hold Steady show.
The what? Oh, yes, that's right. It was so, yeah.
So it was like,
what a wild. God,
we were like.
Time has kind of like melded into weird. It's morphed a little bit in my head. I don't know if it does that for you, like after trauma, but like time morphed a little bit. So sometimes like I'll have memories, but they don't fit in the right spaces, if that makes sense. Like of chronological order. Yeah.
Totally get that.
But I'm sorry you had a bad experience with therapists. I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I tend to, like, I personally, therapy has helped, but I've also had trouble finding people at times, and it is really hard during crises to find people. And I sometimes will be like, okay, if I don't find someone right away, I'm gonna stop, because especially when you're at a low point, like, even someone saying like, sorry, I'm full, can make you go like, well, that's a sign. Fuck it, and then it's like, oh no, that's bad. Don't do that. Like, yeah. So.
Yeah. I never want to be like, oh, therapy doesn't work for me, or like it just didn't work, and then I just was like, everything to trying to get to that point was such a process that it just like drained me, and I could not go through it again. And I think it kind of hurt me because I had some stuff to deal with that popped up a year and a half later that I realized I was going through this bad time, and I was just like, oh, I just have like unresolved issues around grief and leaving the home that we lived in together, and you know what I mean, like starting new in Brooklyn, even though I'd been doing comedy in New York it was just all this stuff I realized was like, oh, it's just stemmed from not dealing with my grief in the moment when I probably should have.
And there's no right way. It's just tough no matter what. The way that I've kind of come to see therapy is like, because I came to it late in life, I had this thought like, oh, it has to solve everything. But I've kind of changed my point of view now, where I feel like the best time to look is when things feel like they're going well, even though that's counterintuitive, because, you know, especially according to like 90s movies, it's always like, oh, you need therapy when things are bad. But now I think like when things are well, that's when I try to really like open up old wounds, because that's when I feel like if I can take the time to find the right person. And then when I'm in a crisis, even if I'm not going regularly, I feel like I have a relationship with someone who I can call, like, that's like my floor. Like, at the end of the day, like, all my friends or whatever, for whatever reason, if I feel like I don't want to talk to them, like, there's a person who knows me who's a professional. But when I'm in a crisis, I don't want to start from scratch. Like, I don't want to be like, and here's day one, my childhood, because I'm like, just fix me now. So, I mean, for anyone listening who's, like, on the fence and maybe feeling bad, I think when things are stable and you've thought about maybe going, that might be a good time to start and then build a relationship for when shit hits the fan. Then you have someone. But I think there's always other ways to find support. I mean, you mentioned your wife. I mean, I know she's a strong support in your life, and you have your comedy and your friends, and so that's all.
Yeah, I had a good support system. I probably, if I could do it again, I probably would have, tried to find a therapist. But I think it worked out. But it doesn't mean I'm I'm not for the idea of therapy.
No, and you tried, which is already like a big step. Yeah. But speaking of, is there anything you would like to tell me, Chris?
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually, in the year of our Lord, 2004, I was banned from the campus of Holy Cross.
Wait, what?
College. Yeah.
I like that you started the year of our Lord. I was like, where is this going? And you're like, I was banned from a holy school.
Yeah, I was.
Wait, where's the school? I'm not familiar with it, I don't think. It's a...
Holy Cross is in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
And I went to the University of Scranton.
Uh-huh.
But my friend went to Holy Cross, and me and my other best friend from high school, was like three of us. It was like me, Pat, and Andrew. We were all like best buddies in high school, and we didn't hang out as much in college as maybe we wanted to. But Andrew went to Penn State, I went to Scranton, Pat went to Holy Cross. So like senior year, we were finally going to go visit Pat up in Holy Cross. So Andrew came from Penn State to me, and then we drove up. But like the thing is, like I drank so much in college, a disgusting amount.
I have to let the listeners know you're wearing a Budweiser hat right now, so can only imagine how much that was in college.
I still drink, but like it's like I say like in college I drank it was like Michael Jordan on the Bulls, but like now I drink like I'm Michael Jordan on the Wizards. You know, like it's not as fun, but like it's still happening.
And that's actually a topical reference because The Last Dance is now out.
The documentary is on, but yeah, so like I drank so much like that night before we went up to Holy Cross, I participated in a handle race, which was like teams of 4 people, and whoever can drink a handle of vodka the fastest like wins.
That's so much
terrible,
vodka.
terrible. Really bad.
Okay.
So we drank a handle of vodka in like 18 minutes.
Oh my god,
and
that's crazy.
Yeah, disgusting. 4 of us. So like that was like the pregame to even going up to visit my friend. That was like the night before. I don't know how we were able to get up out of bed and do anything after that.
Wow. And you guys were you didn't immediately pass out?
It was like a drunk that has never happened to me before or since. It was I went from like sober to immedially drunk in a span of like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah. I feel like I've done definitely not drank that much, but I'm I've done the like 4 shots in a row at a frat house, and then the floor is spinning kind of thing. So I can imagine
all of a sudden you're just like 0 to 60. Yeah.
Okay, so did you guys won? I'm guessing.
We won.
Okay.
Yes. Our prize was we feel horrible and somebody threw up. I think it was just like such a fake conception of what winning is when you're like playing drinking games in college.
Sure. Everybody loses or
wins.
everybody wins. I guess it depends on what side you're looking at. It depends on if you're under 22 or over 22. Then you'll see it differently.
That's very true. Yeah, very very true. I was like freshly 21, so it felt cool still. But so then we road trip up to Holy Cross.
Okay.
And we get there, and like the first night we get there, we just like, we hang out with our buddy. Like they were showing like Lord of the Rings on the campus theater, so we like snuck beers in there, and like we watched that, and that was like very low key, right? But the next night was like, when you visit your friend at school, it's like at like a different school, it's like Friday is like we'll hang, but like Saturday is like everybody's gonna go crazy. At least that's what I thought. Like we bought all this stuff
at a school called Holy Cross. I don't know. I'm not sure what to expect there. I guess some religious schools do party hard, but
it's Massachusetts too. but
Okay.
like they drink.
True.
So I realized, like, it made me realize, like, how much I was drinking, like, at my school. Because, like, we bought all this stuff, and, like, I just, like, it was, like, 7 p.m., and I was just, like, ripping through, like, alcohol. And I think everybody was like, who is this guy? Like, what is happening with this guy? And then we go, it's like, we're going to go see my friend, like, band play in, like, some dorm common area. It's, like, a really, like,
Very
low-key,
college.
like,
Yeah.
kind of, very college-y kind of thing. And I am, like, ripped. Like, I am ripped. And it's, like, not even, like, 10 o'clock. And I'm, like, jumping around, and all of a sudden, well, I, like, lose track of Andrew. This is, like, a funny part. I lose track of Andrew. Andrew's, like, outside smoking cigarettes, being drunk, too. Like, he's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I am jumping around in this van and, like, going crazy. And I, all of a sudden, like, find myself on the wall, by the wall of this dorm common area, and I see, like, the window, and there's, like, a little window panel underneath the window, and I just punch it. I punched the window for some, I don't know why. I was like, and I, like, punched the window.
Were you angry, or it was just, like, some sort of built-up animalistic instinct?
yeah, it's like a drunk, like I can party, like, look at me,
okay.
you know? I'm
I can,
crazy.
like, I know it seems, like, serious.
I can never explain.
It feels like the way you're describing it, and because of, like, how happy and chipper you are, I'm, like, seeing a sitcom scene. Like, that's what I'm seeing. I'm just like, and then we're like, what? Oh, the music stops and everyone turns around. We're like, what?
Right. You would think, but the music did not stop, and nobody turned around, and I had just done this thing in this loud area, so nobody knew, like, what had happened. And I...
nobody saw you. So you were not even performing. You were just alone punching a window.
Yeah, I was just alone punching a window. That was it, yeah. And in college, look, I had, like, a lot of unresolved, like self-loathing issues in college that I, like, took a long time to work through. But, like, I'm sure that was part of it, just, like, trying to be like, look at me, you know, like, pay attention to me. But I looked at my hand, and my hand was just, like, now, like, pouring blood.
Oh, my God. Wait, was it, like, glass window?
Oh, it was glass, yeah. It was,
Okay.
I, like, punched through.
Like a straight-up pain, like you, like, broke the window.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I went, like, punched through it
Wow.
and broke the window. And so, like, I'm now, like, bleeding, and, like, I'm, like, just like, oh, I better go to a bathroom. You know when you're drunk and you're just, like, nothing is serious?
Yeah, you don't really feel pain so much. And yeah. Oh, God. Well, I'm, like, getting, like, whoa.
I know.
I'm very queasy with blood.
I'm walking through this hallway to try and find a bathroom, and it's literally, like, a dorm.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm also now doing this thing where I think I'm being quiet, but I'm being, like, extremely loud, and I am, like, blood is, like, gushing out of my hand.
Oh, my God.
And I'm, like, you can't see it if you're listening, but I was, like, shaking my hand.
His hand.
Like, you know, like, and blood is flying, like, all over the dorm. Like, it's just, like, flying onto the dorm walls and stuff. And, I know. So I go to the sink in this bathroom, and I start running cold water, and
like a person's bathroom, like just in someone's room.
Yeah, well, no, not that bad.
Oh, okay.
Like a shared.
Oh, gotcha.
Bathroom.
Okay.
And the sink is, like, just, like, filling with blood, 'cause it's like as quick as water's coming onto my hand, like, blood is coming out of it, you know?
Oh my God. And at no point were you like, maybe I should go to the hospital or bandage it up? Had that thought cross your mind?
I was thinking, like, oh, like, paper towels, and then like, kids on the floor woke up because they'd heard me, whatever, screaming and yelling, I'm sure. And they came and they were like, hey, do you need, like, a white t-shirt or something, dude? And I was like, oh, yeah, that'll help.
I look Dumb and Dumber, where it's like, oh no, we gotta do something. Here, take my shirt.
Yeah. So I, like, wrap a t-shirt around, it's, like, bleeding.
Oh my God.
So then all of a sudden I come out of the bathroom with, like, my hand wrapped up, and there's, like, either, like, a cop or I think it would be campus security guy is, like, there. And he's like, what's going on? I was like, oh, no, then I just cut myself. No big deal, officer. And he's like, who are you? I was like, I don't go here. I'm visiting. He's like, who are you visiting? And I go, I was like, oh, my friend Pat Wilson. And he looks at me and he's like, who the fuck is Pat Wilson? Because like, unbeknownst to me, my friend Andrew had just been out front smoking a cigarette and got into like an altercation with this guy. And the guy was like, who are you staying with? And he's like, Pat Wilson.
Oh
so
my
then he comes
God.
and sees me, and I'm like, Pat Wilson. And he's like, who's this criminal mastermind bringing these monsters to campus?
I was an RA and a YMCA camp counselor, so this hits really close to home, Chris.
I'm so sorry.
No, at first I was thinking about the hand as a camp counselor. It just brought me back to like when kids get injured, and then you're like, oh boy, okay, all right, let's clean you up. And then now I'm like, as an RA.
Right. I feel like when you're a camp counselor, you have to like learn the phrase "let's get you cleaned up." Like
yeah. And you have to kind of be calm because the kid's like bleeding, and they kind of look at you like, "Is this serious?" And you're like, in your head, you're like, "Yeah, your skin's like falling off," but you're like, "Oh, it's okay. You're gonna be fine." And you're like, "God, I'm gonna throw up."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. You're like holding back vomit. You're like, "No, this is great."
yeah, because you can't freak out because I feel like all kids have like a moment of like an injury like that, and then as an adult, they're like, "Yeah, that was pretty bad," but you can't know that in the moment because you'll freak out if you do.
Yeah. I know. It's so funny. Like when my sister had kids, it was like I would visit and they would just like take like headers like in the hallway or like trip over stuff, and they would just be like, "Hey, nice job," and I'm like, "What is this weird?" Because they couldn't be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Because the kid will just start going nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I still have scars. I mean, most people do from when you're some injury as a kid. So it's like, yeah, that was probably pretty bad. But I think they're necessary because I think otherwise, as an adult, you will be like, I feel no pain. Like now, I'm like, I don't scrape my knee because I know how to walk.
Right. Or you'll be afraid of like doing anything that like might cause you harm.
Yeah.
It'll like inhibit you from doing things.
But 21-year-old Chris was not afraid of anything. Not of security guards, not of windows.
I mean, I didn't even know what was happening, but like they put me in a whatchamacallit, an ambulance.
Oh wow.
And the guy was like, never come back to this campus. You're banned from campus. You and your friend are not allowed. But like we had to sleep there after all this was done. So
my God.
They bandaged me up at the hospital. They gave me like I got like 6 stitches, and like a bunch of Percocet, and then they sent me out, and it was like 6 a.m, and we just like went back to the dorm and were like we felt like we were sneaking back on campus, and our friend like had passed out. We're like banging on the dorm, and I'm like, we're gonna get her.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where was Pat in all this? Was he just nowhere to be found?
You know, but it's gonna make me sound like a million years old, but like we weren't using cell phones.
That's right.
So
yes. Things were different.
It was just like calling his dorm landline, and he was just passed out. Which I know it sounds like it sounds like a foreign language now, but.
No, I remember the times I used to, like, the transitional times when I went to college in New York, I would call my mom to be like, are you at a computer? Can you Google, like, directions to this place? So I thought that was, like, pretty tech savvy to have, like, direct access to someone with direct access to a Google map. But that was still before smartphones.
I remember, like going to, like, friends' places or, taking a drive someplace I'd never been in, like printing out like MapQuest directions and just like leaving them in the car with me.
MapQuest.
MapQuest, man.
I don't know why that MapQuest makes me laugh so much. Like it's fine. It's just a map thing and it died because of Google. But like the idea of someone just super invested in MapQuest and then it's just an antiquated defunct thing. It's so funny to me.
I know, but especially when like we ended up needing like and using all the map app that we have, and like I'm like MapQuest really missed the ball here.
Yeah,
like,
they should have jumped on that.
They could have bounced back.
Mm-hmm.
True. They could have bounced back, man.
Yeah, like eBay's still around. I was gonna say kicking, but I don't know if it's kicking. Definitely like wiggling some toes, but not. I don't know.
Yeah,
eBay's kicking.
eBay's still hanging around. They're doing well.
But you were able to get back onto campus and
got back on campus, and it was like 6 a.m. and we like fell asleep, and then we like left the next morning. My hand was bandaged from like the elbow like up to the up to the fingertips.
Did they bill you for
I
the
called it
emergency
my-
room?
I I got billed unknowingly for the ambulance,
Damn.
and that ended up being like on my, like, I owed that for a long time and I didn't know it, and then all of a sudden, like, years later, I started getting calls from a collection agency.
Jeez.
And they started like harassing
Oh.
like me and like my parents' like landline, like asking for like money, and basically I just waited until
They gave
it
up.
ran out. Yeah, they gave up, and it came off of my credit report.
Damn. I mean, that is crazy because it's like, yeah, how did they, like, with, especially with college kids, it's like, they'll put, I'm sure they got your ID, but, like, it's not like you have, like, a permanent address you're going to be at for years. Like, you're probably at a dorm, like, you're a guest.
Yeah.
Also,
that's why
yeah, I
was out
realized-
delinquent for a long time.
I mean, but that
I
is
didn't
the
know
weird
about
thing
it.
about collectors. Not to, like, I'm not one to give financial advice, so don't listen to me by any means, but this is just anecdotal, but by the time it's at a collector's, it's already, like, they bought that debt knowing there's a risk. So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
depending on where you are in life, obviously, again, do not take my advice, do what you want, but, like, if a collector's calling you and, you know, you're not, like, trying to buy a house, like, you could probably let it go. I mean, I don't know. Because at that point, they picked up the risk. So they have bought it
Right.
at a lower price, knowing that there's a chance you might not pay it back. So that's
Right.
just something
They
to
also
think
like
about.
They also like so I think I had moved out by the time they were calling my parents' number, which must have been the number that I gave on the medical form. And so my parents like had to figure out like, oh, I think this is for. They got the name of the company, and they're like, I think this is for that ambulance you took when you were in like Worcester, Massachusetts. And so I looked it up, and I was like, oh yeah, it's them. And they were like, my parents were like, look, if they call back, like Dad's just gonna say that he's you, and we'll just like tell them basically like we're not gonna pay or whatever. But then my mom picked up, and the guy like berated me to my mom. He was like, oh, like Chris can't come to the phone when he like has to have his mommy fight his battles for him. Is that the kind of person he is? And my mom was like, who are you?
Oh my god. Maybe that person has some aggression issues they need to work. They need to punch a
like it,
window.
yeah. It just felt like the last ditch effort was like to just
To make fun of, yeah, that, how's that tactic ever worked? That's crazy. But I'm glad your
Yeah.
parents stood your ground. So that means you told them. Did you tell, did you tell them right away what happened?
I told them that I had accidentally put my hand through a window, which I don't know how. I think that they were just at that point like, whatever, like, are you fine? Are you okay? Whatever this story is, we'll buy it. Like, you're like a month away from graduation or, you know, whatever. So, like, just make sure your hand isn't screwed up for graduation and, like, you're okay. Just get home. Because I was like, looking back now, it's just, I was like, oh, yeah. I was, like, hanging around and I threw my hands out and I hit a window. It's ridiculous.
Parents
Ridiculous.
know. That's,
Yeah.
Are you the oldest, or do you have siblings?
I'm the middle child.
Okay. So then they've had some experience with an
Yeah.
older child.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think they were like rolled their eyes and were like, fine, just be safe from now on or whatever.
Yeah, anytime a story, like an injury report to a parent starts with, like, I fell, or I accidentally, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a lie, because, like, if you have to report it, it's probably, like, if you really just fell and bruised your knee, you're not calling your mom to be like, yeah, I fell, like, but if it's like, oh shit,
right.
something happened, I tripped, over a rock, and,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
no.
Yeah, looking back on it now, like, I know that I probably was, like, dreading that phone call. And I would love to hear, like, a tape of what that conversation was like.
Did you get injured a lot as a child? Like, were you a clumsy kid?
Not really. Like, I broke my pinky once, and, you know, I would take some headers every now and again, but, like, I wasn't I wasn't necessarily clumsy. I think I've like hurt myself more as an adult than I did as a kid.
Hmm. Did you ever? Okay, this is a slightly like it's not really leading and it might not go anywhere. But you were talking about like at the time you had like unresolved anger issues, and wanting attention. Like as a kid, did you feel like you would get more attention if you were like something was wrong, and would your parents give you more like love and attention at times like that? Like, do you feel like secret? It might be no. I'm just curious. Sometimes it's like you as an adult you'll like play out those patterns of like, oh, if I'm hurt, then people will come to me and check in on me. Like, did you have that at all with your parents, or were you more just like, I don't want them involved in this scenario?
I was more like my family is very loud and
Mm-hmm.
they talk over each other, and they kind of you can get lost in the shuffle very easily of like at like a big like a family event, or even kind of like a dinner, and it's all like people want to talk and they're excited to talk to each other and say things, but like especially when I was a kid, I would just kind of not be able to get in there, and especially like when it was like everybody, like a big family gathering, I would just kind of like feel like I couldn't say anything, and then like if I started, I would kind of get like run over by words. And so now, if I think the one thing that is residual is like if I'm talking to somebody and they're like a person that is always like cutting you off, I get like I just like recede away from the conversation and just be like, all right, well, I'll just be a quiet person then.
Oh wow! I mean that like rings true for me, because in different ways I feel like I'm often cutting people off, and that's something I've worked on as an adult. But as a kid, well, I grew up in a similar family, but I'm the oldest, so I do feel like I, like, in that pull of power, I kind of, like, asserted myself more. So then I did feel like as an adult, I had to do that. And then it took me a while. Like, it took people who I trusted and, like, I had healthy relationships with to tell me, like, hey, you do this thing where you interrupt. Like, in a way that wasn't mean, but just pointed it out, and that helped me think about it, because I was like, oh, I don't need to do this with everyone as an adult. But it was residual too, of feeling like if I don't like quickly cut you off, I'm never gonna get a chance. So that's interesting to say that. Yeah,
I'm kind of like the opposite. Like I just like, if we're like hanging out in like a group dynamic and I can't like get in there, I'll sometimes like really like quiet. Every now and again, I'll go like over the top if like I'm trying to like make people like me or something. I'll be like and like I will get a little cut offy. But I think it's like sometimes a push and pull of just wanting to make sure that my voice is heard, because like it makes me crazy like if people aren't listening to me at all. You know
what weirdly helped me with this is podcast. I know that sounds like the nerdiest, lamest thing, but when I like before I started doing my own podcast, I'd like guest on podcasts, and the first couple I did, because I used to work at Cracked, which is like it kind of still exists, but not in the same way. It's like a comedy website, but they had a podcast where multiple guests would be on, and the first couple times I did it, I would try to like say funny things, but I was so nervous about getting a word in that once I like said a thing and it worked, I kind of like back off, and I got comments saying like, oh, Teresa's funny, but like we never heard her much. And then listening back, I was like, oh, this is how I am in conversations too. So then I kind of tried to actively just be more present, and it took a long time. I don't know that I'm fully there, but I've gotten better in just being present instead of being like, how can I say something and then, oh, I did the thing, okay, what's my next thing, now I just try to be like, where are we now,
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to break, especially when you're trying to like fit in, and especially when you're doing comedy stuff and you're trying to be entertaining, but like making sure that you're listening and not just waiting to talk is like such a big difference.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, I wanted to say one thing about your story of walking down the halls with blood, because I don't know if you ever got told like these like urban myths when you were going to school of like, oh, I heard like some. Okay, let me explain. Like, people before I went to school would say things like, oh, you gotta be careful when you go to when you stay in dorms, because like I heard like so and so's cousin once was sleeping and then a man walked in and peed on her, like things like that,
Right.
And I remember my mom told me something like that, or as an aunt, something like that, where like a stranger walked in and just like peed on her bed, now hearing about that, I'm like, that probably did happen and they were probably drunk. But at the time, I was like, that didn't happen. No way. You're being paranoid.
Yeah.
And when you told me your story, I'm like, oh my God, you are the guy. Like, you're the guy someone's telling a story to about. Like walking through the hall bleeding.
Yeah. Like somebody is like, there was this just drunk dude, like, fling blood all over the hall.
Like,
I'm sure it was there for like a bunch of days.
And that's their college experience. They're just horrified. They're like, people just walk around bleeding. I mean, shit happens like that in college.
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever seen someone walking down the hall bleeding. There was an urban legend at NYU, and I don't know if this actually happened, but they called her Bloody Mary. And now that I think about it, it's too convenient. Probably didn't happen. But that some girl was like on her period and having sex and then just walked drunk and then like left the room and she was just bleeding down the hall. But now that I think about it, I feel like that's probably not true. It just feels too convenient.
You never know. Yeah, we had a girl one time in our freshman dorm. She pooped herself in the shower and then put her foot in it and then left foot marks all down the hall.
Ooh, okay. Well,
So,
college is crazy.
You never know.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I have a quick game.
Of course.
Okay,
Yes.
so this game is called Twist on a Twist. It's inspired by your love of movies, because we talked about it earlier, but you watch a lot of movies. You're very good at kind of like summarizing tropes, and you have a good your thumb on the pulse. I feel like I'm bad at idioms. Is that the one I'm looking for? You have your thumb on the pulse of movie tropes and that sort of thing. So obviously we're currently reporting from the pandemic, so a lot of movies are delayed due to the coronavirus. So I don't know. I just want to give movies some love. You're an astute movie watcher. And there's a lot of movies that have like sort of big twists, the classic "It was you all along" or "I was dead all along," or my personal life twist of "I was dead inside all along." So in this game, I'm going to give you a classic movie and the twist. I guess, spoiler alert, most of these are ones that have been out for a while, so I don't know. If you haven't watched them, you probably won't. But if for some reason I say one, you're like, don't tell me, then we'll move on. So I'll give you the twist, and then you give me the modern day twist on the twist, like what it would be in 2020 now. So it's really just a fun thought exercise, but if there's any you want to skip or that doesn't inspire you, just say skip, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we'll start with the simple one, Sixth Sense. So the twist is a psychiatrist is working with a patient that can see dead people, but then realizes he's the dead one. So what's the twist on the twist?
Okay, so
so I guess it'd be like the reboot, the 2020 reboot. What would that be?
Right. So I feel like at this point in the quarantine, he would just it's a guy who would end up realizing that it's been Monday the whole day and he didn't know.
Oh damn, so sad.
Because I don't know what day it is. I don't know what days they are anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So, like every now and again, I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday. Okay. I forgot.
It is crazy. We just did I do a live stream comedy show on Instagram. We just did our 30th one, and I was like, has it been that long? It's wild.
Oh my god.
It's wild. Okay. Okay. Gone Girl. So a woman goes missing. Her husband tries to stop the murder, but realizes she framed him for it. So that's the original.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She framed him for it, and she's still alive. Okay. So in the modern day, the new twist on the twist is that she framed him for, and then he finds out because he finds her alternate Twitter account. That's how he finds out. He finds her fake Twitter account and reads everything about it.
She finds her. Okay, I have a riff on that because I just discovered lesbian TikTok, which is TikTok, but it's lesbian dating apps on TikTok. It's a sub-community that you can only find if you, have the right finger technique. But the new twist is he finds her lesbian TikTok, realizes she's not into it. Or the second twist is she's not gay, she's bi, she just didn't like him. So that's the more progressive.
She just wasn't
progressive version. Yeah, you don't need to not like all men to not like one man, okay? Okay, right, 90s movies. All right. This one, okay, American Psycho. You know this one? I don't want to give it away. Okay. This is like old. I feel like these are old. Okay. A successful, beloved business bro is a secret serial killer. Eventually confesses to a murder when he's caught. But then the twist he was never actually killing anybody to begin with. It was all in his head. So that was the original.
Right. A controversial twist, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of,
Some
because a little,
torn.
is it like fantasy? What's that? Wish fulfillment fantasy for real serial killers? Because I don't know. It's directed by a woman though, so.
So in this one, he ends up. He's an incel who thought the whole time that he was having sex with women, but he actually wasn't. He was in his parents' basement in a VR machine or something.
Oh my god. That's so funny. Oh my god, I love that so much. Okay, that's so good. Okay, this is the final one. This is a very classic Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, okay? We all know the twist. Luke finds Darth Vader, kills him, but before that learns he's actually his father.
Sorry to be a nerd, but it's Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, sorry. Wait, I wrote it. Okay, yeah, I did know that. I literally, dumb.
Sorry.
You are correct, and I'm a dumb. That's okay.
No, it's stupid. It doesn't matter really in the scheme of things. Okay, so he finds out. Luke finds out that Darth Vader is his dad. Right. So in the new Empire Strikes, the twist on the twist is that Luke finds out. Okay, so Luke finds out that Darth Vader is his dad, and also has a TikTok account.
There you go.
Like I worked in your thing, right?
I like that.
And he's a superstar on TikTok.
Ooh, okay, I like that. Or, okay, he also, here's an alternate, he finds out he's his dad, but he was like, you know what, I didn't need you. I grew to love myself, so actually, you can have your fatherhood back. I don't need you, and I love myself, and I've healed my wounds. And then he kills him and restores good. Okay.
Nice.
Wow, I love these so much. Thank you, Chris, so much for doing the show. Can you tell our listeners where to find you if they want to watch your stuff or follow you?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. This is great, and it's good to see you again. But people can find me at chriscalogero.com and on social at RealChrisCal on Instagram and Twitter, where I'm mostly active on Twitter incessantly, so that's where you can find me.
Yeah, and you can follow this podcast at Tell Me Anything Pod and follow me at Larissa T on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.